All right, guys, we are back for the PERTH FITFAM podcast, episode 57, with Xavier Wills, not Professor Xavier Wills.
It's hard to put a...
Even on stage, like my knees
Frame you up.
training. In the rush of things, you can still just stay controlled. Fitness.
So we're here with Xavier Wills. So Xavier, not Professor Xavier. We've probably known each other for, what, 4 years now?
Yeah, that or probably longer. I don't know. It's been a while now. Yeah, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. So I moved here about 7 years ago to Perth. So
Because you were Tasmania.
yes, Tasmanian. Yeah.
Awesome. I got to ask before we get into it, did you know Alice Round whilst you lived in Tasmania?
No, I didn't. Nah. But it's actually funny. I never knew she actually came from Tassie until a couple of years ago, and then she told me, and I was like, ah.
There you go. And I'm not sure if he's been picked up, but I'm sure everyone knows about our little Frenchie, Rich Froney the Frenchie. He's yapping in the background. So just want to let you know, no dogs were harmed in the making of this podcast. That time that we've known each other, 5, 6, 4 years, I called you Xavier to your face every single time. And I
don't even pick up on it anymore. So it's Xavier. That's what a lot of people call me. But it's just Xavier.
Because of X-Men. Right? And so that's my exposure to your name.
Yeah, Professor Charles Xavier. That's what they call him, isn't it?
Xavier. Yeah.
I don't know why they do that. It's not correct.
Well, it threw me off, and I only found out at the Arnold's last year where you came second, that we're going to talk about later, and someone's like, Brendo, it's Xavier, not Xavier. And I felt so rude, and you were so polite about it, so thank you for that.
That's all good.
So we'll make sure that we clear that up before we get in. But... so I want to know a little bit about yourself so we can put some context around this. So I would call you a bodybuilding frother.
A frother?
Have you never heard of frother?
I've heard of frothing.
Frothing? What's frothing?
Oh, just loving something, like
yes.
being really into it. Yep.
Yeah, so in the CrossFit world, we have a thing called frothers, and they're like the real fans of the sport that really get into it. So I'm known as a CrossFit frother, and a few of my friends, we're CrossFit frothers, where we just fan over it. And I don't think there's anyone a bigger bodybuilding frother that I know than you, like someone who just genuinely loves the sport, everything about it, the competition side of it, the training side of it, the nutrition, the people, like the media, like everything. And a couple of years ago, I was going through YouTube and I saw a clip from you, a very young Xavier, interviewing people for RX Muscle.
Yeah,
so before we get down into that, tell us about your background. Obviously you come from Tasmania, but before bodybuilding, what made you get into it?
So basically, when I started bodybuilding, it was something that my dad used to compete back in his 20s, and he stopped when basically my mum and dad decided to have me. He decided, I've got to put everything into my work, and he really just sort of gave up on his sort of bodybuilding to support me as a child. So I always am very appreciative of that. But when, Dad used to show me a few of his photos and stuff like that, I'm like, that's cool. Like, I want some muscle sort of thing. But I never knew if it was something that was realistic. So I remember saying to my dad when I was maybe 14 or 15 or so, saying like, oh, maybe I could compete in some teenage bodybuilding competitions. Do you reckon I could win? Do you reckon I could do well? Because I thought they can't be that big, teenagers and stuff. And he goes, oh, well, there's a guy from Tassie called Dean Palmer. When he was 16, he had 16-inch arms. When he's 17, he had 17-inch arms until he's up till he's 20. So I was like, oh, damn. So
super demotivating.
Dad almost like put me off it a little bit, but he just said, oh, yeah. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll do it. And then I was like, eh. And then I just sort of had the home gym, the setup in my room and all that sort of stuff. I'd do a bit of weights. Didn't really know what I was doing, not eating properly and stuff like that. And I just asked Dad a few little things, what do I eat after a workout? What do I eat before a workout? And stuff like that. And I just sort of got into it a bit. But then eventually I was like, okay, I want to compete. When I was 16, I decided, I hurt my back because I was playing footy or something. And then...
When you say footy, Aussie rules?
Aussie rules, yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then I basically was like, okay, well, I'm just going to train after that. So I had about a month off, training and all that sort of stuff. And then I got into it, competed 5 days after my 17th birthday in a teenage competition, won that. Wicked. And I was hooked. I competed, I got off stage, I won, and I was like, I want to do it again. And I wasn't planning on doing any comps that year or anything like that, so I just had to wait until the next year. So I competed again, thought that I'd come in a bit bigger, just came in a little bit fatter, pretty much.
Everyone does that. It's a trap they fall in after they win.
I want to be fuller, aka fatter.
Yes.
So it didn't work for me. I got second, so that was a bit of a kick up the arse. And then, competed again as a teenage, won, competed as a junior, won some comps there, went to the IFBB Nationals back then, got fourth, I think, out of maybe 13 or so guys.
What year was that?
Oh man, I don't even know what year that would have been. Because I did the IFBB Nationals 2 different years. Once as a teenager, where Ben Wortley actually won that.
Yeah. That was in Queensland, right?
Yes, it was.
I was there.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I think it was 2 years after that when I did the juniors, and Ben Wortley won that, and that was in Victoria, that one. So
yeah, he was a very exceptionally conditioned athlete.
Unbelievable, yeah. So I was really hooked then, and then I started going through some fatigue issues. So I had some really bad adrenal issues and didn't really know what it was for a while. I mean, I went through stages where I just would have no appetite. I wake up in the morning, I'd normally eat 6 eggs, I could eat 1 and then just feel bloated. And my body was just rejecting me. And I was someone who, I did go through a lot sort of in my personal life. I had a partner for 4 years that passed away from cancer around that time. So I decided to compete. And then after that, that's when it really hit me. And I think while I was prepping, in my mindset, I was like, she went through all this, and I saw it firsthand because I was basically sort of like her full-time carer, or I wouldn't even say carer, it's more like support person, would help her out with things and stuff like that 24/7. So when she passed, I saw everything that she went through. So to me, in my head, I was like, I'm thinking about, oh, this prep's hard or whatever. I'm like, nah, it's not hard because what she went through, you know what I mean? So I sort of used that, but it was almost a negative because it was every day for, I think it was 14 weeks, I either did cardio twice a day, training twice a day, or cardio once a day and training once a day. So it was two lots every single day for 14 weeks in a row. And I just got to the point where I messaged one of my mates and I said, I don't think I can even get up. Like I felt so horrendous. After the comp, I started eating again, and then I felt better. But then I just went downhill. I had no sex drive. My body just felt wrecked, and I was just tired all the time. I was like, this isn't right. I went to the doctor. Basically, I got my bloods done. Testosterone was just so low, and I was only about 20, 21. It was just horrendously low. And he said, look, this is worrying. He said, we need to get you into an endocrinologist. So I got seen in as an emergency because there's a 4-month wait, but I only had to wait about 4 days. He basically told me he thought I had a tumour in my pituitary gland. So whether it was cancerous or benign or whatever. Didn't end up being the case. I had an MRI. I was stressing out for a while, obviously because of what I've been through.
Especially what you went through, yeah.
Exactly.
I was going to say.
So I had a bit of stress around that, but I was like, well, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But it's actually funny. I actually got to almost experience what it would feel like to be told you've got a tumour. You know what I mean? So I did really. So that was a bit scary, but then found out it wasn't, and he was sort of like, oh well, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm sort of left on my own then. Like, what do I do? Because I said, I feel horrendous. I said, I'm struggling to go to work, struggling to do things. So I actually ended up having to quit my job because I was just so horrendously tired all the time.
What were you doing?
I was working for Bulk Nutrients actually at the time.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah.
Tassie boy.
Yeah, Tassie, yeah. So I was working for them, and I remember just sitting down on my lunch break and then just going to get up, and my face would flush out and I'd be so tired and my eyes would hurt, and I'm like, oh, this isn't right. And I'd tell people and they'd say, yeah, I get tired sometimes in the day and stuff. I'm like, I don't think you get tired like I do. I don't think it's the same thing. And if I'd sit down in my car for too long, what I actually found out later is my cortisol would drop very aggressively. So it would dry out my skin. I couldn't retain sodium. And I just feel really tired, like I'm going to fall asleep now. And then I figured out sort of what it was eventually. Matt Legg from ATP Science, he helped me out a lot. He told me basically what it was. He put me on a protocol of supplements. This is years later when I actually moved to Perth. So I sort of was up and down for a long time with it.
Yeah.
And that basically changed my life, pretty much. And I can't thank him enough for what he did for me, even though it's, probably just second nature to him, be like, okay, you need to take this, and this. A lot of adaptogenic herbs and things like that. And that really did change a lot of things for me, in terms of what my physique was doing and all that sort of stuff. So I was very grateful for that. I continued competing, did classic bodybuilding, did that for a few years. I won at FitX the year before it became Arnold. So I was really happy with that. That was sort of one of my goals. I'm like, I want a national level title. And there was just one class of classic bodybuilding, about 14 guys in it, and I won that.
So classic before classic was actually a thing?
Yeah, pretty much. They had classic bodybuilding in the IFBB amateur.
Okay.
So now it's obviously the IFBB Pro League or NPC worldwide.
Gotcha.
So it was classic bodybuilding back then, and it had been going for maybe about 4 or 5 years at that stage. But it wasn't as much about the shape as it is now with classic physique. It's a little bit different. It's more like, okay, you've got to fit in this weight category. If you have a little bit better shape, you get a slight advantage compared to, maybe just bodybuilding. But it wasn't as much about that. It was conditioning and hard under this weight limit. So,
okay.
But the guy that came second to me, Adam John Waite, he was shredded to the bone. Yes. I think my shape's probably a little bit better, and that's what actually got me the win, but it was very close between us. If he won, I would have been like, we'll look at your conditioning sort of thing. But
yeah.
So I did that. A couple of years later, I did the Arnold's in classic bodybuilding again. I had a few little issues. I popped a few ribs a few weeks out. And,
how did you pop ribs?
On a foam roller. It's a really sad story. I was trying to crack my back and the wall was in the way, so I was like, I put my leg a little bit lower, and I just slipped, and I just felt these 2 pops, and I'm like, oh.
No.
And it was just such a little thing, like, and I was just on the ground, and my girlfriend at the time goes, like, I was there, I was like, ugh, and I just couldn't really breathe. And she goes, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, no. So,
That's so bad.
Yeah, I was struggling, but so I sort of went through that. Competed still, did all right. I got second in Perth and then fourth at the Arnold's out of a pretty decent sized division.
Who was his second place in Perth at that? Who came first in Perth at that stage?
Ty Lucas won that. So he came over from Queensland, I believe it was.
Because he doesn't live here anymore.
No, I don't think he even did at the time. I think.
But he was a Jane Porter athlete or something back then.
Oh, something like
there
that.
was someone, he was connected to one of the brands. I recognise his name. Yeah,
because he seemed like he had a sort of a connection with Perth. So, but yeah, he beat me there. So, sort of since then, I didn't compete for quite a while. So, I don't know how many years it was. And then last year, I decided, I started doing a transformation challenge basically, and I thought, there's a lot of money on the line for it. So I thought, I reckon I can actually do all right at this.
What was that? What was this on?
This was the Redcon 1 transformation challenge. So,
okay, so that wasn't affiliated with Nick Strength and Power or anything?
No, not that one. That was the
different?
Mr. Golden Era.
Gotcha. Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, and I think the winner of the Redcon 1 challenge was $50,000 US.
Whoa,
so I was like,
that's a good incentive.
I'm like, I want to win that. I reckon I can do pretty well because basically me and my partner, Tara, we decided to try to get pregnant. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to try to be as healthy as possible. Eat on feel, not on getting results in the gym. So I ate on feel, like, if I feel like eating more fruit, I'm going to eat heaps of fruit. If I don't feel like eating as much protein, I won't eat as much protein. So I was just trying to be as healthy as possible, achieve the goal, got my partner pregnant. And then after that, I was just sort of in limbo for a few months. I was just sort of like, oh yeah, I was going to the gym, but nothing too crazy serious. And then that transformation challenge came up and I thought, I'll give it a go. I reckon I can actually do all right and transform pretty dramatically because I know where my body's been before. I know how quick I can get back there. Got 3 weeks into it and everyone started saying, are you prepping? Which show are you doing? All this sort of stuff. I was like, I'm not doing a show. And then I was like, I could do men's physique. Like, because I had a few hip issues and my legs weren't where they needed to be to do bodybuilding. I was like, I reckon I could do all right. I might, I'll just see how I go, And decided to prep, and I was sort of in and out of it all the time because I had a lot of self-doubt, about myself, and Tara heard it all, I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And she's like, oh my God. You're doing it, just shut up.
Classic bodybuilder going into a comp.
Yeah, and I never normally do that, but I think it's just a lot of self-doubt around what I'm going to look like in men's physique, Like, even though people saying, oh, you do well, that sort of puts almost a little bit more pressure on you because you're like, no, but what happens if I really don't look good in men's physique? What happens if my physique doesn't translate into that class? And the only time I knew that I was actually going to do all right in men's physique was when I was backstage in South Australia, which I did qualify.
Yep.
Because the Josh show was, I think, 5 weeks after I started dieting and transforming. So
okay, I wondered why. I don't think that we've had that discussion because I really wanted to. Because obviously I've known you for a while. I wanted to see you compete, and you didn't compete in WA, but then you competed in SA, and I was like, oh man, I feel robbed. But then I got to see it at the Arnold's anyway.
Yeah, and really, like, I only knew backstage. I put on my tan, and I took a selfie backstage, and I was looking at the lighting, and then I looked around at a few other dudes, and not that they were bad, but I was like, I know I'm in better condition than pretty much everyone here. I'm like, okay, I know my tan looks pretty good. I know I can pose all right. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be all right. Whether I win or not, I have no idea. Ended up winning the overall there, which was awesome. Like, I was over the moon. Then people started talking about me getting my pro card, maybe at Arnold's, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. And I was like, so I sort of entertained that in my head a little bit, and like, imagine if I did it, babe. Imagine if I did it. And she's like, hey, yeah. She's sort of in between, not knowing if to be like, yeah, you can do it, because then if I don't get it, I'll be disappointed. And she's like, yeah, well, you never know. Yep. So went into that. It's actually funny, backstage at the Arnold's, LaQuinton, who actually beat me and then went on to win the overall in the tall class. So there's 4 classes. I think our class was actually the smallest, had about maybe 12, 13 guys in it. That's
still a lot of guys for people that are listening to this, 12 to 13 guys in a lineup. So
on a stage, yeah.
Yeah, it shows people the level of competition when you're at this level.
Yeah, and the other classes had about 20 or maybe even 25. I know there's quite a lot in some of the other classes. And I was actually meant to be in my class 1 down height-wise, and then I was backstage and they called out all the names and I was like, where's my name? I started, you get that little bit of panic because I was already pumping up for half an hour. And he said, oh, you're not on here. I was like, oh, okay. And then they found out they put me in the division above, so for some reason, but my
Was
height,
that by mistake?
I think so, because my height was right on the line, but it says above this height, and I was right on that height.
Okay,
so so I should have been in the division below, but it's here nor there, because all I really care about after knowing that I did well was winning the overall. Yeah. Like, if I go do the Arnold this year and I win my class, yeah, it's cool, but I won't when you've got a goal and you're just one track minded, I feel like it doesn't matter as much. So LeQuinton actually showed up 20 minutes before we went, or 15 minutes before we went on stage. I don't know how he didn't know to go up earlier. Rips his shirt off, starts pumping up. I was like, this dude looks good. Damn.
Yeah.
But he rocks up, he beats me. I get second in that class, and I don't know if it was close or not. It's hard to say. I know I didn't pose to my best ability. I think just being on that stage and lacking that bit of confidence in myself, I just didn't pose with the confidence I needed to. I turned my body off too much. I didn't open my shoulders enough, and I really hurt myself. And I know that for this year, and I know that I'll be able to bring something better this year. And yeah, in between my last comp and this comp, I've had glandular fever for 4 to 5 months, which was put me out of the gym. I went from, I started an off season straight after that comp thinking, okay, I'm going to put on size, I want to come in bigger. Got up to 92 kilos or so, and then came right down to 71, 72 kilos.
That's
after
a big
that.
drop.
So about 19, 20 kilos. So
there's a few things I want to unpack on that because there's a lot of information.
Yeah, sorry.
First of all, no, it's all good. First of all, the glandular fever that you got, is that related to previous health issues?
I have had it before. So I had it about 3 years ago, and me and my ex-partner actually both had it at the same time.
Okay.
Which was
that would have been hard, man.
Honestly, a nightmare, because there's different sort of degrees to glandular fever. Like, she had it about 6 months before we both got it, and she had it for about 2 to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Didn't feel well, glands were up, all that sort of stuff, tired, those typical sort of symptoms. But it went away. And a few weeks after, she was a bit tired, but then came right.
Yeah.
6 months later, we both got it almost exactly the same time. I don't know how it happened. I suppose maybe it just stayed dormant in her system, came up, we both got it, and we both had the exact same symptoms. So the second time it came around, we both had huge liver inflammation. Mm-hmm. So we both became extremely itchy. Mm-hmm. And this isn't like a chickenpox itchy. It's not like I've got some sort of skin issue itchy. It's like, it feels like it's something's inside your skin almost. And it's your whole body, but sometimes your hands will be itchy. Sometimes it'll be your head. Sometimes it'll be your legs. It's just very hard to explain how debilitating it felt.
Yes.
So she wasn't working, I wasn't working. Luckily I had some money saved up and I covered us for 4 months, 5 months, however long. I think it was about 4 months that time. But it was terrible. She ended up in hospital because she said, I just don't know what to do, because we couldn't sleep. Like, we were sleeping a couple of hours a night, or you just doze off and then you wake up 10 minutes later because you just find yourself itching yourself in your sleep.
Yep.
And she bruised very easy. Looked like I'd beaten her with a baseball bat to her legs, to be honest, because she'd itch herself so much, would bruise. I even, to the point where I would scratch my foot with my other foot and I'd cut my foot because my toenails would cut my feet, you know? So it was just absolutely crazy. And basically what I found out later on is it actually gets into your liver when that happens. Yep. And that's what causes the issues really bad. And
infections and things like that?
The actual glandular fever gets into your liver. Yep. So yeah, that was not fun at all. Came back for me, so I did my 5-6 weeks post comp, trying to put on size, and then I'm like, okay, then I'm going to chill out for a little bit. Just as I sort of was coming to the end of that putting on size period, just struck me. I started feeling the itchiness, and I said, oh babe, I hope this isn't glandular fever coming back. Yeah. It was, unfortunately. Went to the stage where I was getting 1 to 2 hours sleep a night, really struggling. It's hard to explain when you're getting that little sleep a night, what it actually does to your psychology and your mind, because you feel like you're drained, like you're sitting there itching yourself, feels like almost 24/7. You feel like you're some sort of drug addict. You know what I mean? Like,
it sounds like the symptoms of a crack addict.
Itching yourself, you're like tired, so your eyes are hurting, it's real difficult. Like, I mean, obviously other people go through tougher stuff and life-threatening things, but it's like I said to Tara a million times, I said, it feels like I'm dying. Like, that's just what it felt like. I was losing weight, losing muscle, not being able to train, not being able to even just work at all, really. Yep. I think I was seeing 1 to 2 clients that were prepping a week, and that was it. That's all I could manage. So it was extremely hard. So I lost a lot of weight. I got healthy though, fortunately, and was able to prep now. So I'm hoping that my body does stay healthy, and I'm doing a few things now, supplement-wise and stuff, that are meant to help prevent you getting glandular fever. So
going back to the issues that you had when you were competing as a junior that Matt helped you with, so you got given different protocols that were able to help. Did you train your nutrition at all?
Did I train in nutrition?
Did you change your nutrition?
No, I didn't change my nutrition necessarily, but I did concentrate on eating more of just plant stuff. I ate meat, but I reduced it a lot, just to take that stress off my body, the digestive stress. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot more fruit, vegetables, all that sort of stuff, nuts and seeds and things like that. But that was well after I was a junior, because I actually had fatigue for a long time. So it was actually after I moved here. It would have been maybe 5 years ago, I reckon. So,
Okay.
and because it started to come back, so it sort of went away. Had periods where it's gone up and down and stuff like that. But then, yeah, it did start to come back, and that's when I hit him up and I said, I'm sorry to ask because I know how busy he is and how many people contact him, but I said, I'm just at a breaking point where I'm just like, I need to be able to work. I need, all these, I want to be able to train and stuff like that. And then he helped me out, and it's just, yeah, like I said, forever thankful for how he helped me. So.
And then the Redcon side of it, because you said that you just wanted to clean up your food, like do some eating and do something. So then and now, do you track your food?
Do I track it? I mean,
how's your approach to nutrition is probably the better question.
Okay, so I've got pretty strong theories on nutrition. I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat. So if someone who says this is the only way to get in shape, it's like you're wrong, because people have done it a million different ways before. But basically, I'm really big on improving insulin sensitivity. Okay. So I'll eat, typically high fat, moderate protein in the mornings. Depends how many meals that goes for. It might be 2 meals, it might be 3, it might be every meal in the day until the last meal. It might be even keto, for short periods of time. But I want to improve that insulin sensitivity. So I'm really big on carb backloading. So if someone trains, especially in the afternoon, it's ideal, moderate fats, moderate protein all day. And then that last meal of the day, someone can go 120, 150 grams of carbs in that last meal with a lean source of protein. And that basically, you're starving your body of glycogen through the day. You're training, there's no glycogen coming in straight away. And then when you do have that glycogen, it sort of makes sense because your body becomes really effective at using insulin.
Yeah.
So when you have those carbs, your body goes, okay, we need to restore glycogen. So you secrete X amount of insulin, your body uses it efficiently. But just say you're insulin resistant, which means your body does not use insulin efficiently. You'll eat carbs, your body secretes X amount of insulin. It goes, okay, your body your body basically says, not enough insulin, oversecrete more, secrete more. So you're oversecreting insulin, and what that can do is obviously make you fat, especially if you've got, you've been eating fats around that same time as well. So I choose to typically separate my fats and my carbs, but depends if you're pre-contest, off-season, all that sort of stuff. So I'm very big on that component of it. But at the moment for me, I know my body, I know I respond well to more carbs in general, but a typical day for me will look like, ground beef or eggs in the morning.
Ground beef, that's such American bodybuilding.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Lean beef mince.
5-star Woolies lean beef mince.
Exactly.
For those that want to know, what's beef from the ground?
And we'll basically go a couple of high fat meals in the morning, then switch to just leaner sources of protein and carbohydrates. And I make sure I use things like apple cider vinegar, before my first carb meal, before breakfast as well. And yeah, I've just sort of got my morning ritual down at the moment while I'm prepping, and it's like I use an inversion table, I do vacuums.
Inversion table is the upside down where you hang?
Yeah,
okay.
Brilliant. I bought one only a few weeks ago because I was having a few back issues, and it's amazing. I can't rave enough about those, and I think I bought it secondhand for $80, and I was like, best investment. So yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's pretty much my theory on nutrition, or part of it anyway.
Where was the point that I was coming to? We went through your nutrition side. We went through. I don't want to delve into the RX muscle side yet, but I want to know a little bit more in the future. That's right. The self-doubt. So from someone that experienced a lot of bodybuilding, had success, an absolute frother for the sport. Why such a and so many people that are doing this, not just bodybuilders, but people that maybe listening to a bodybuilder for the first time, but have a lot of self-doubt with themselves. Why do you think that you had that switch into a division, which, if anything, would require less size, and you are a very aesthetic person anyway? Yeah,
I think the thing was for me is just I've never seen myself doing men's physique before. And when it first came out, I was sort of against it, I guess, when it first came out. It was
bodybuilding frother, man.
It was men's bikini, you know what I mean? To me, I was like, sort of didn't like the division, but I sort of warmed to it a bit. And then I was just like, oh, I can do that. And it was more as a challenge. It wasn't because I loved the division. Like, it really wasn't at the start. And now, now I've competed in it. I've learned to follow some of the guys, and I really like it now. But it was, I think, because it was something that I didn't really love. And if I don't really love it, if I don't really love it, I want to do really well at it. It's like a guy that dances when they're young, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a male that dances when you're young, like, typically you want to be really good because people can laugh at you, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So for me, it was sort of the same thing. It's like if you do men's physique and you do crap and you've done well in bodybuilding before, people are going to laugh at you or be like, oh, I told you so, sort of thing. So that sort of built in that self-doubt and that that fact that I could do really bad at this.
Yeah. Do you think that means physique and has more prestige now? And I don't mean prestige against bodybuilding. I just mean in general within the industry, because if you look at like guys like Viet, so I've known Viet since we were 18. Like we kind of grew up together in the bodybuilding space. And I'll make sure that for those who are watching this, I chuck a photo up now. So he was a really, really skinny kid that couldn't put on size, and the dude would come into my supplement shop every day with a bag of KFC. And he's just like, I just can't put on size. And now you look at him, and he's like just an insane athlete.
Yeah.
But you look at the caliber of the physique guys as well, and although compared to bodybuilding, they're not massive, but he's a big guy and they got really, really good physiques too.
He's big, So I think it's got a lot more respect now that the size has increased. You know, I mean, when men's physique first came out, it was that beach body. You know, Mark Anthony won the first Olympia.
Yeah.
Much smaller dude. I mean, he's put on a bit more size now, but he's still not even competitive for these top guys now.
No.
So you got your Andre Fergusons, you got all those top guys that are phenomenal, and the physiques look so good. And I think so many people now see those physiques. Even a lot of the not pro bodybuilders, but bodybuilders out there go, oh wow, like he looks mad. He actually looks like a bodybuilder.
Yes.
A little bit smaller. They come in awesome conditioning, which really wasn't what it was when it first came out. So. And I think the board shorts put a lot of people off because you're used to posing trunks, you know what I mean? You don't have legs and all that sort of stuff. And now we've seen a lot of these guys actually do have legs. So I think it's got a lot more respect than it used to have. A lot of these guys that do men's physique could win amateur bodybuilding competitions.
Easy.
That gives, just the class a lot more respect. And I think the fact that we know these guys work hard now. It's not just some dude that goes to the gym 4 days a week and just eats an okay diet. It's much more than that. So I think it's garnered a lot more respect. These guys obviously have a really good following, and I think that, you know, while some of them are a bit drama queeny, I would say, like in the men's physique. I mean, not on an amateur level, more I'd say on a pro level. Like you hear a lot of sort of stories and stuff like that.
Do you think that also has a lot to do about social media and hype and stuff, and that's how you get your name out there too, to a degree? In part because I think some of these guys have that sort of pretty boy look, so I think they're a bit more... That diva mentality? Yeah, diva mentality, for sure. And I know I'm not like that at all, but it's actually funny, in men's physique, you get a lot more guys that are really humble and really nice. Like you said about Viet, such a nice... The most dude, humble guy, so nice. Ali Raza, who's actually friends with Viet as well. Yes. Super nice guy, he's a dad, and we've sort of gone on really well. There's a whole bunch of other guys, Joseph Menzel as well, who runs Massive Joe's. Just lots of really nice, humble, down-to-earth dudes. So I really like that, and sometimes in bodybuilding you'll be backstage, and I didn't find it in classic bodybuilding, but some of the other times I've competed, guys are a bit more standoffish. Men's physique, it seems like a lot of the guys are really nice, like, hey bro, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like you can have a good chat with people backstage, you know, you become friends with people like when you compete that, you know, even though you might not be super close with them forever, sometimes you are, you know? So I really enjoy that. I enjoy the camaraderie and stuff. I mean, I know some people are very much standoffish, like, no, I want to beat that person, so I don't want to talk to him. Yeah. I'm not like that at all. I train at the same gym as Rowan Pereira, who I'm competing against. Very good, physique athlete. Super nice guy. Super nice guy. And just a ton of the other guys. Tom Stanley, who I'm competing against. Dude, we've got to talk about Tom before we close this off, hey? Yeah, he looks crazy. Yeah. We'll come back to him. So there's a whole bunch of dudes out there that are just super nice dudes that, you know, like if I wasn't competing against them, I'd be cheering them on, you know what I mean? But obviously I do want to beat them. They obviously want to beat me. It is what it is, but I don't hold any resentment towards them as a person because I want to beat them. You know, it's like, what if you're going to compete and you're a decent competitor and you don't say you want to beat them, you're lying, you know? So yeah, it's very, very true. Now, obviously last year you got second place. Did that give you belief that, you know, you're in contention to come back and get a pro card? And being 5 weeks out, what's your mentality, your approach going back to the Arnolds now that it won't be your first time in physique? Yeah, so I've got a lot more confidence. So I know what I'm going to do on stage, because even with the posing, I teach posing for a living. Yeah. But I had doubts because I didn't know how it would look on my physique, and I can't see my physique and look at it subjectively. Yep. I really struggle with that. So I've got more help from my partner this time, which has been really, really good. Just sort of ask, like, how does this look? How does that look when I move like that? And I've got a few different moves that are going to like sort of be something that people haven't done before in men's physique, which is really cool. You don't have as long of a sort of, you know, your individual walkout is just one pose at the back, one pose at the front. So I've made that a little bit more interesting, even though I still am only really doing the one pose at the back at front, but I've sort of mixed up the transitions to something that's
people wouldn't have seen before.
And for people to keep in mind, again, we spoke about you have 12 to 13 people in your division, the others 20 people last year. And that one shot that you have to make that first impression is literally you walking out to a couple of positions and then for you to stand out enough to be in that first call out.
Yeah, exactly. So they look at it, even Michael Buhner, the head judge of all these comps, he said, when you walk out, he said, we're not comparing you then. He said, but we're looking at you to see where you're at. You know, we're seeing, okay, this guy walks out, is he good or not? You know, sort of thing. If he's good, okay, we'll think about him for the first call out, you know what I mean? So it is important when you walk out, that front post has to be good. You have to know how to hit it. That's where I messed up at Arnold's. I think because obviously my division was a bit smaller, I obviously got the look in. And I got stood next to me and LeQuinton, and we were sort of being compared for first or second. And yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence because of the messages I got as well from people. Now, I know obviously a lot of people that compete say, people say, oh, you should have won. I did get that, and you can make a case for me because of my conditioning. You know, I think my conditioning was better than LeQuinton. LeQuinton had a much better back though. Like, I've got to give that dude credit. His back was awesome. He has a lot of stage charisma, which I think I lacked at Arnold's. And I didn't pose my best because I closed my body off, like I said, and I know now how I need to pose. I know how I can pose with more confidence. Because when I did my first walkout, I wasn't super confident. I sort of like did my move. I sort of did it, but I was like, yep, okay, cool. But now I'm like going to walk out confident. And my mindset's just totally different.
That's gonna be wicked. And again, like with bodybuilding, it's in some cases it's black and white, but in other cases it becomes very subjective as well.
Yep.
And one thing that's common at the end of a bodybuilding comp is that there's a lot. It's like in a UFC fight that goes to a split decision.
Yep.
You know, it can be definitely like, you know, viewed subjective. So for someone that's never watched it before, it's not just dudes or females tanned up in oil. There's like quite a bit more to it as well. So that's 5.5 weeks away. Now we spoke about Tom Stanley, and I asked Dan Ector about ICN. So I've got to ask you about IFBB. So IFBB WA, so the Pro League, is on this weekend by the time this comes out, because this will be out on Wednesday. Who are the top athletes? Obviously, you can mention yourself. Who are the people to look out for? The first name I got to put forward is Tom Stanley. I've seen his photos. He's going to be doing classic physique.
Yep.
We've already got Porvu. We've already got Rez. We've already got Will Collins, great classic athletes so far that have made their mark. But Tom Stanley, man. Very,
very good. Very impressive. Like, his conditioning looks sensational. He's doing classic physique and also men's physique as well. So
is he doing men's physique?
He's doing both. Yeah, I think he's more suited to classic. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Just based on his shape and stuff like that. But I think he can do well in both because he's got awesome conditioning. He's got a good amount of muscle. His back's
big V taper.
His back is tremendous. Like, I used to coach Tom, and he just looks really good. And now Richard's looking after him and obviously doing an awesome job with him. So yeah, Tom's going to be really, really good. He's going to be very dangerous in that classic class, because it's actually funny because I never knew how good he would be in classic. But now that he's added that extra size, I think it's actually really helped his physique a lot. And the way he can open up and hit a vacuum on his front double bicep really does show his physique off really, really nicely. But you've got a lot of other good dudes as well. I've got a client, Raj, who's competing. He should do pretty well in classic. He has had some sort of health issues as well and stuff leading up to the comp, which has sort of hurt him a bit, where he had to have, a bit of time off training and off the diet and stuff like that. But he's looking really good. You got Nick Lucades in the bodybuilding.
Oh, Nick is coming back.
Yeah,
yes, I know. Yep.
He should be sensational. He always brings conditioning and is just absolutely crazy. You got Erin Fruitt, I believe, is doing the women's physique.
Yep, I've seen her progress photos too. Yep,
she's come second.
Great shape.
Yeah, second several times to winning. I think twice or 3 times maybe to winning a pro card at the Arnold's.
Yes.
In men's physique, like I said, you got Jordan Medici, who's looking. Honestly, when we did the posing class, if the men's physique was on that day, he would have won 100%.
Okay. Yep.
So, like, I'm not afraid to say that he would have wiped me.
Yeah.
It was a few weeks ago and stuff, so I'm not sure how it will translate and how much I've improved versus how much he's improved. You got Ron Pereira. You've got, I'm trying to think who else is in there, but there's some really, really good names. So
that's a stacked lineup already.
Yeah, it's going to be impressive. So I can't wait to see how everyone shows up, and yeah, it's going to be at least a really good 4 to 5 guys in men's physique, like really good.
Now, obviously there was changes within the IFBB over the past couple of years. Things have changed, and there's also a lot of new divisions now. So where would you see the direction of bodybuilding going, as far as within Australia, but then on a global scale as well?
As an overall sport?
As an overall sport. So not just men's bodybuilding, but let's say all the bodybuilding categories as an overall sport.
I think this is going to continue to grow. We've got the wellness coming in this year as well, which is another division. I think pretty much there we should stop it. You know what I mean? In terms of how
There's a lot of divisions.
Because there is a lot. And I used to follow it. It used to be, women's figure. It used to be men's bodybuilding. I don't even think they had the 202 or the 212 back then. They had women's bodybuilding, figure, men's bodybuilding, and that was really about it.
Yep.
So it's an easy sport to follow. Oh, you had fitness as well. So you had 4 divisions, easy sport to follow. You knew the top names in every division. Mm-hmm. Now, even for me, I'm like, I look at some of these divisions, I'm like, who's this woman in women's physique? Or who's this person in this class or whatever? Or who's this guy in classic? Like, they popped up out of nowhere. And it's a bit harder to follow if you want to follow all the divisions. But I do really like it. It has drawn more people into the sport. It's obviously made promoters more money, and it's been able to actually grow it. And it's actually got it out more to the mainstream because more people are competing. More people that compete that put all the stuff all over Instagram. I feel like there's almost no one out there that has Instagram or has anything like that doesn't, or even in their personal life, that doesn't know some of it. Oh, I know this girl that competes in bikini, or I know this guy that does competes in these bodybuilding shows, and then they might go to one and then they might catch a bug. So yeah. I think it's just growing and it's getting bigger and bigger worldwide. And I think what NPC Worldwide are doing is really, really awesome. What Tony's doing in Australia is really awesome. You've got guys like Josh. You've got a lot of the big names now, really putting a lot into this sport. And I actually interviewed for Desktop Bodybuilding the other day, Dan Solomon, who's the promoter of the Mr. Olympia. So he obviously has a huge responsibility being, the main guy. I think he's the chief executive operator or something like that. That's his technical name for the Olympia. But I think he's actually now the president because the Olympia was actually just sold, I think yesterday or the day before. And Jake Wood from a company called Wings of Strength bought it off AMI.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't know that.
So he bought the Mr. Olympia, Flex Magazine, and Muscle and Fitness. So
oh, wow.
I didn't realize that dude would have that much money because that would be an expensive buy. And I know he sponsored the Mr. Olympia last year. I heard it for about $1 million, so US, which is huge. So apparently he's going to. I was talking to Dan, and Dan sort of sounded like he said, yeah, things are going to grow. Like it sounded like maybe he had a few restrictions before. It sounds like Jake Wood from Wings of Strength is going to be sort of open to a lot more things, and things are going to grow. So I'm really excited for that. Dan, the other day when I interviewed him, said, the expo is going to be bigger and stuff like that. So I think with The Rock coming in now, The Rock has his own show, Athleticon, which is huge.
There's going to be a lot of hype around that.
It's going to be massive. And even
do you think that will work to benefit the Olympia, or is disadvantage to the Olympia?
Well, the way Dan spoke about it, because he even, before I even asked the question, he sort of addressed it. And he sort of said that we're all working together, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm up against them or I'm whatever. So, I mean, it's a month after the Olympia, so maybe it could hurt the amount of people that go to the Olympia Expo, potentially. But the Olympia is still the Olympia. It's still in Vegas. It's a massive draw. Atlanta's obviously a nice place in America as well. I haven't been there, but I've heard a lot of good things as well. So that's going to be a draw as well. But also Shaquille O'Neal and Rock Shabazz, who's Shaquille O'Neal's trainer.
Yeah, I know. I saw Rock Shabazz competing Gold Coast, I think 2005.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're actually putting on a show together and a whole fitness weekend as well. And I think that's going to be in Atlanta as well. I think it's about maybe a month before the Olympia. So I don't know if that has pro bodybuilding attached to that as well, but they're putting on, I think, an expo and a show and stuff like that. So it really is growing. So I think that this is really positive. We've got Shaquille O'Neal into the industry now. He's now a guy that's, what do you call him, like a spokesperson for the Olympia this year.
Yes.
So he's sort of helping promote it. Had Mark Wahlberg last year. You got The Rock, who loves the Olympia. And Shaquille O'Neal, Dan Solomon mentioned this too. Shaquille O'Neal's been going to the Olympia for the past 3 years just as a fan. He doesn't get paid anything to go there. He just wants to go to the Mr. Olympia.
That's cool.
This dude is so busy. Like, he's just a fan of bodybuilding. And he's doing his own transformation at the moment. Shaq's a DJ and stuff like that. And I even suggested to Dan, I said, look, get Shaq up there DJing the pose down for Mr. Olympia, and like he's doing his transformation, get him to rip off his shirt and hit some poses, because imagine the virality of that sort of thing, posing against the top bodybuilders in the world, Shaq ripping his shirt off, and he has no shame, like he does that sort of stuff anyway. He actually put a video up on his own personal YouTube channel.
I think I saw it,
posing and like hitting some actual body.
I'll see if I can rip it for this, for people that didn't see it.
It's classic, I'll link you up anyway, but I think those sorts of things are just drawing more eyes to the sport, and I think it's just growing, and I think the potential of it is huge. And I think we need something where we get the actual Mr. Olympia out there a bit more in some of these really big shows, because we see the live streams and stuff, but they're not even well publicized a lot of the time, the live streams. You see, you see a media release about it or something like that. But I think we need to really push it out there and somehow get it out, whether it's on one of these actual, channels like ESPN or something like that, or if it's somehow just publicized way more through online or something.
Even like just broadcasted through YouTube and Facebook platforms so it gets maximum reach. Because the issue is somebody's bought the broadcast rights for these, whether it was bodybuilding.com or iHerb 2 years ago when it shut down. literally as Phil Heath came out to do his pre-judging routine. I'm like, are you serious? The one time that you don't want it to shut down is right now.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So a real quick question before I talk about desktop bodybuilding and wrap it up. If you have the Olympia and you have Athleticon and they're a month apart and Brendan Curry competes in the Olympia, but Phil Heath and Sean Roden compete in Athleticon. Whoever wins, who is the best bodybuilder in the world?
I think it's still the Olympia. The Olympia is the number one. It's always been known as the pinnacle, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And Dan Solomon did say, he said the Olympia will have the most prize. He didn't say versus Athleticon, he said the Olympia will have the most prize money. It sounds like it's probably maybe going to go up again. So the Olympia, more prize money, the prestige of it, it's been the title for ages. I don't think a show like Athleticon, and I think it's called the Icon something.
It is, yeah, it is, yep.
And I don't think that can just take over, you know what I mean? I don't think you can have a first year show and be like, oh, well, that's the best bodybuilder in the world, you know? Even though you might have better bodybuilders doing it, I still don't think that will happen. I think guys that are going to do Athleticon, maybe Phil Heath because he has that connection with The Rock and it's managed by Danny Garcia.
And it looks like that's kind of what might happen at the
potentially,
moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be crazy not to do the Olympia too because he could just pick up a 400 grand or 500 grand check. So it's pretty decent.
And then tie Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney.
Exactly.
Why would you not go back? You would regret that for sure.
Yeah, if it's a month, I think it's about a month apart. I think most of the guys will do both. Because, Brandon Curry, just say he comes into the Olympia, he wins it.
Yeah.
Not to hold on for another month. I mean, he's not going to go and do the Arnold Classic in Columbus.
No.
He's not going to do these other shows. Hold on for another month, and then you've got 11 months to your next contest.
Double your revenue.
Exactly, yeah. So he's going to make really good money. Obviously, if he's the first winner of Athleticon, if it turns into something big, he can always say that I'm the first winner of this Icon, whatever contest it's called. So, I think these guys would be crazy not to do both. Sometimes these post-Olympia shows, they had it, last year they didn't really have that European tour. They more had just a few random shows. Some had decent prize money, but a few years ago, they had that sort of post-Olympia tour.
You go to the Shiru Classic, then you go to everything else. Yeah.
I love that. That was really cool. But sometimes having a big show a month later, if it's the same lineup, I mean, things can change up, obviously, but sometimes it's not as climactic as the initial one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Olympia, because we're seeing these guys on stage for the first time around that same time period. If it's Arnold Classic 6 months later, things can change a lot. But a month later, maybe not necessarily, but it still gives the opportunity, to say Rolly Winkler rocks up at the Olympia, a little bit out of condition, or a month later, can he come in and overtake a few of these guys? So it'll still be exciting. I think a month's a good amount of time. If it was a week, it'd be it'd pretty much be the same, duplicate the lineup, whatever. But I think the fact it's a month later sort of makes it pretty cool. But the Olympia still will have the most excitement because it's the first time seeing these guys on stage, maybe for a year, 2 years, even if you're talking about Rami's doing the Arnolds, but a few of these other guys. So it's going to be really exciting. I think this year in bodybuilding is going to be really big because you've got guys like Quentin Araya, you've got Samson Dowda, who I'm helping a little bit as well, who's going to be doing the Arnold Classic in Brazil and a few other shows. You've got just some Antoine Vaillant, who's doing the Arnold Classic Brazil. You've got Dexter Jackson now, who's doing the Arnold Classic Australia. He just made a decision, and also doing the South America or Brazil.
It's the only one he hasn't won.
Yeah, so... and Dan Solomon also mentioned he's going to be doing something. There's something going on with Dexter this year regarding the Olympia. So I don't know if it's going to be his last Olympia or what it is. So there's a lot of guys coming up this year, and I think it's going to be, the standard is going to be much better than last year on the whole pro bodybuilding circuit from all the names I've heard that's doing it. You've got Big Ramy coming back, potentially Phil Heath, Sean Roden if he gets his case sorted out, which I don't think so, but you never know. So there's a lot of good guys coming back. Flex Lewis going into the Opens, that's huge.
Dude, that's hectic. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So it's going to be a good year for bodybuilding, I think, overall. I think the amateur scene is getting bigger as well. With Athleticon as well, we've got the amateur component of it, but you have to qualify for the amateur. So you've got to be top 5 in your division in the country by getting points, by doing amateur.
So it'll be a really high quality amateur.
Yeah. So I think that's almost like the amateur. Well, they have an amateur Olympian now, but it's almost like the amateur, like the pinnacle, I suppose, you know what I mean? So if you win that, you're the best of the best amateur, you get your pro card, so.
Wicked. Yeah. All right, so heaps going on in the global scale. Desktop bodybuilding. So this is your YouTube channel. It's been crushing it. You're putting out heaps of content. So let people know about desktop bodybuilding.
So it's basically something I started, when was it? It was early last year. So probably about this time last year, to be honest, or maybe a little bit later. And it was something I started, but why not give it a go, I'll do a YouTube channel, put out, a few videos a week, see what happens. And, I was getting, 200 views, 800 views, maybe 1,000 if I was lucky. And I'm like, this isn't going to cut it in terms of making a living from it. But I put out a video about Sean Roden and his guest posing that a lot of people talked about. He guest posed in Pittsburgh. It was about 22 weeks out from the Olympia, and he looked rubbish. And we didn't know what he's going through with his case and all that sort of stuff. But he looked really, really bad. So I did a video about that, and then I followed it up with another video with Jay Cutler and another 3 guys talking about Sean Roden's guest posing. And I put clips of Sean Roden. I talked a little bit in between it as well, gave my opinion on what these guys said, and that video blew up. So it's got about 260,000 views now, and that, like, it's like YouTube realized, okay, this guy has a good video or whatever, got a lot of hits. They start pushing it out more in the browse features, and then my videos after that getting hits as well. So I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So I went from, getting, I don't even know how much it would have been, maybe, 4,000, 5,000 views a month to getting, I think I got up to, in a 131-day period, I got 750,000 views. So I started making revenue from that, and it just went really well. And I was putting out daily videos, sometimes even 10 videos, up to 10 videos a week. And that's sort of what I'm getting back to now post Glandular Fever. So trying to get that momentum back up. I put a lot of videos now sort of like in the bank, ready to go. You know what I mean? So I haven't edited them all up, but I've got interviews with Blessing Awadaboo, who's massive on social media. I've got Dan Solomon. I've got some with Chris Psycho Lewis, who trained Sean Roden for the Olympia. And then I've got some other videos that I've done in terms of, just like ones that I've recorded that are sort of like ones that aren't time sensitive, you know what I mean? So my opinion on this bodybuilder from the 2001 Olympia, or this, or little things like that, or like the transformation of this bodybuilder over the years, or things like that. So I've got a lot in the bank that I'm ready to sort of just start launching. And it's sort of almost like the relaunch of my channel. So I'm really excited for that, and I'm hoping it picks up the same momentum, and then I supersede where I was before, because I really want this to be my full-time thing. In the meantime, it's been hard because, like I said, with the Glandular Fever, couldn't work for 4 to 5 months. So that was brutal. Burnt through a lot of savings, which really sucked.
Again.
So I'm hoping that I get a clean run of health, I'm able to do this desktop bodybuilding thing, and now I'm launching my own personal YouTube as well, so I can sort of cross-promote them. So my personal YouTube is going to be more about information-based stuff. So I'll talk about diet, I'll talk about training. I'll even have videos in the gym of me training and showing 5 best exercises for this or that or whatever, So because I've got a lot of strong opinions on that sort of stuff. Not saying I'm right about everything, but I'm very opinionated on certain things, and if I think something's going to be beneficial to someone, I want to put it out there so people can watch it and actually learn a bit from it. And I'll also do lifestyle-based stuff as well. So I want to do like a day in the life, or a day of eating for me, and just all those sorts of little things, almost like what Chris Bumstead does with his lifestyle videos. But I want to put more information-based stuff with that out. So I want to start maybe with 5 videos a week or so on that. Have about a video every day on desktop bodybuilding, cross-promote them, and hopefully I can make a really good living out of that. So that's the goal, business-wise, and it's in what I love, you know what I mean? Like, I love
bodybuilding frother, man.
Yep, exactly. So, and even for a while, I wasn't turned off bodybuilding, but when my business sort of went away from bodybuilding, I did the sports betting thing. I don't know if you know about it, but it sort of drew me away from bodybuilding because I wasn't competing. I was doing something totally different, and I sort of wasn't following the sport as much. But now I'm back into it and doing it. I'm just like, man, I love this. Like, I love bodybuilding, and I love following it. I love looking at the photos, love looking at the improvements, and just the excitement of seeing these dudes. Quinton Iura, 24 years old, and he's just phenomenal. I think he's blown up about 30 pounds this year, and he still placed top 5 in a pro show last year. So guys like that you think he can win an Olympia, that just excites me just to see the progress and to watch him. So yeah, so that's really cool.
Wicked. Awesome. All right, well, we've got a big week ahead. You've got plenty of contest prep. Xavier Wills, thanks for being on.
Mate, thanks for having me.
It's hard to put even on stage, like my knees
frame you up.
Training. In the rush of things, you can still stay controlled. Fitness.